Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session Career Tips for a Successful Cybersecurity Transition. I'm Shilpa Goswami, and I'll be your host for the day. Before we get started, we would like to go over a few house rules for our attendees. The session will be in listen only mode and will last for an hour. Out of the last 15 minutes will be dedicated to Q&A. If you have any questions during the webinar to organizers or our speaker, use the Q&A window. Also, if you face any audio video challenges, please check your internet connections or you may log out and log in again. Our speaker for today's session, Yuri Diogenes. He has been working at Microsoft for past 17 years and currently is a principal PM manager for the CXE Defender for Cloud team. Yuri is also a professor at EC Council University and has a Master of Science in Cybersecurity, Intelligence, and Forensic Investigation from Utica College. He is currently working on his PhD in Cybersecurity Leadership from Capitol Technology University. Yuri has published a total of 31 books, mostly covering information security and Microsoft technologies. Yuri also holds many industry certifications such as CISSP, ECND, CEH, CSA, CHFI, CompTIA Security Plus, CISA Plus, Network Plus, CASP, CyberSec First Responder, and Maitreya Tech Cyber Threat Intelligence. Without any further delay, I would hand over the session to you, Yuri.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining today's session, Career Tips for a Successful Cybersecurity Transition. This is a very important topic to me. That's why I published a new book to cover all this topic. And I think that this webinar will help you to understand what the options are. So to start, we need to understand, first of all, why cybersecurity is so hot and why cybersecurity jobs are on the rise. There are still a lot of gap in this field of cybersecurity. There is a shortage of cybersecurity candidates when it comes to not only the experience, but the basic requirements that is needed for cybersecurity professionals. There are many other reports talking about this gap and how it's been growing over the years, and is estimated to reach 3.5 million job openings by 2025. One of the things that is very interesting that recently, with all the layoffs that we had in the IT industry, cybersecurity was still one of the strongest one across the market. While core infrastructure and operating systems and cloud and many other jobs were getting eliminated, cybersecurity was still on the rise, pure cybersecurity. So there is currently actually a demand of 69 workers for every 100 job openings. So it's a pretty big gap, and the opportunities are immense. But what do I need, and what do you need to know before you start investing on this field? Now, first of all, cybersecurity is such a broad term, is something that a lot of people get confused because, like, oh, I want to work with cybersecurity. And I used to say that nowadays, if you say I want to work with cybersecurity, it's almost like you're saying I want to be a doctor. Well, what type of specialty? Are you going to be a surgeon? Are you going to be a pediatrician? What is going to be your specialty? And that's the same thing with cybersecurity. If you just say, I want to work with cybersecurity, that's good, but you have to go a little bit deeper than that. So you need to take a couple of things in consideration: the type of cybersecurity job that you want to focus on, because not all cybersecurity jobs are the same, exactly because of those ramifications that exist in the industry. And since there are so many ramifications, you need to understand the skills that are required for that job. Again, not every single cybersecurity job has the same prerequisites and requires the same skills. So that's why you need to be very laser focused on what you really want to go to. Now, once you have clarity about these two items, then you should evaluate if this is the right fit for you. And this is something that I will emphasize multiple times. throughout the presentation, is something that I emphasize many times in the book. You need to be passionate about what you are going to do. A lot of people, they migrate to cybersecurity just because they envision, oh, I want to make more money, that's the field that I go. Well, are you going to be happy doing that? So fulfillment, happiness is part of your career journey. If you are not happy in doing what you do, chances are that money is not going to pay off just for you to be on the job, because you're going to start to have poor performance. You're not going to enjoy what you're doing, and that boost in motivation just because of financial gains is very temporary. In the long term, if you don't like what you do, chances are you're going to perform badly, and you're probably going to leave that field at some point because of not being happy, right? So evaluate what fits for you, understand the growth opportunities. That's another thing that is important, is not only to get there, is to continue to grow once you are there. So every single cybersecurity opportunity that you envision, you have to envision the today and the tomorrow. You have to envision what are you going to accomplish today, what are the good things that you're going to take out of this experience today, and how can you continue to grow. Because if there is no growth, again, you are not going to be happy, because you're going to be doing the same thing over and over again, not learning new things, not evolving, not getting better. So when we look at the cybersecurity field, what we see is so many uh, jobs, right? Cybersecurity analysts, pen test, incident responder. So cybersecurity is a field in the industry. The job roles are different, and it can be very specific when it comes to knowledge, technical requirements, soft skills requirements. All those things will vary. That's point number one. Point number two, if you are already in the IT industry, let's say that you are working in the network field, infrastructure, network infrastructure, there are some skills that you already have that will facilitate your transition to one of those roles. Now, if you are transition to a completely different role, then you're going to almost like start from scratch. Let's say that you land in a job, let's say DevSecOps, that requires a lot of coding, and you don't have coding skills. Now you're going to have to catch up by learning coding skills and applying this in the cybersecurity field. So two different requirements. While if you are, for example, again in the network infrastructure and you move to a pen tester, well, there's a lot of things that you can reutilize when it comes to knowledge. You already know how to use Wireshark to read network monitor traces. You already know how to analyze network traffic, how to use network tools to understand the performance. So there's a lot of things that you can reutilize, and that's really the most common path that people go, is where they can adapt rapidly and start having a bigger impact. Of course, it doesn't stop you. If you come to me and say, I want to change my career completely and start from scratch, okay, that's your wish, that's your desire. You can do that as long as you have a good plan. It's possible to achieve. So when we're talking about understanding how to leverage your previous knowledge to take advantage and to emerge on this new field, you have to understand that you have the field, and the second step is to find a job. And when you are searching for a job, you need to search and look for the description of the job, the technical requirements, and when on the technical requirements, you need to be really peculiar when it comes to the the required skills and the nice to have skills, the must have and the desirable skills, right? Because usually, if a job description is well crafted and well written, you will have the must have skills, things that you must have in order to even go through the interview process, and you must have those skills. And then there is the desirable. The desirable usually are, oh, you know what, if you have those skills, you are one step ahead of others, because those are desirable skills, and it will be very nice if you have it, right? So when you think about candidates applying and the hire manager looking to those resumes and looking at, okay, what this person has and versus what this one has. If this one has only the must have but doesn't have the desirable, and this one has a desirable, chances are this one is going to move forward, because you have to understand also that when hire managers are looking at resumes, they are looking at a lot of resumes. So the initial triage process have to eliminate some just by looking at the overall requirements. All right, so you've done that, you did the job, you find the job that you want. In this case, the incident responder. You want to work on this field, you saw the opportunity to leverage some of the skills you have. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna list all the required skills, okay, and do a self-assessment. Why is important the self-assessment? Well, because you need to be very sincere with yourself to understand where you are before you apply. It doesn't make any sense for you to apply for a position that you have zero of those required skills. You're gonna just waste your time and waste the company's time, right? It makes no sense. Now, if you identify within your skills that you have some partial skills that you can leverage, then now you can basically say, okay, I have this. There are some skills that I need to develop. So I may not be able to apply for this job right now, but I'm going to create a roadmap for me to qualify in the next 3 or 4 months to a job like this. That's how you can start establishing your plan via this self-assessment and contrast this with a position that you want to join. Now, here you got to be very, very sincere with yourself, because when you're doing the self-assessment, be very critical. If you don't know that skills, don't rate yourself high. You have to rate yourself according to the level you have. Usually we use skills of 100, 200, 300, and 400 level, right? From the knowledge perspective. 100 is like basic knowledge. I understand that. 200 is, oh, I not only understand, but if I need to present a little bit about this, I can give an overview. 300 is, oh, I have actually advanced level. I can do some advanced things in this topic. And 400 is more like an expert. I'm an expert in this topic, right? So when you are assessing the skills that are required for the job versus the skills that you have, you can create a table with those 100, 200, 300, 400 level, and then make sure that you assess yourself in the right way and create the roadmap. The self-assessment, basically, we are talking about the technical skills for now, and you need to do this to understand your current level. And again, if you are doing this to understand your current level, be sincere, critical with yourself. It's very understand to not only understand the gaps, but also your strengths. Because if there are things that you are good at it, then you need to make sure that you grade it high. If you are specialized in one, even if it is just one piece, make sure that you grade it correctly. Oh, I'm in this part here, I'm actually 300 level. I know this a lot. I've done this in the past. So start grading yourself. This will really help you to establish a plan. And the next thing that you may see in a job position is some jobs will go towards professional degree, professional certification, sorry, and the other goes to degree. So the question is, which one is better? Well, it depends. I know that a lot of people don't like this answer, depends, because they want a precise answer, but let me explain why I say depends. For short-term gains, professional certification pays off quickly. What I'm saying by that is, if you are applying for a job and you see in the job requirement that one of the requirements is to have CEH certification, Certified Ethical Hacker from EC Council, you already know that this is a requirement. If I don't have the certification, I should not even apply, because this is a must-have according to the resume, the job description, right? It's a must-have. You must have CH. So in this case, which one is better, certification or degree? Oh, Clearly, in this case, the certification, because it's a must-have. So it depends on what you are doing, and depends on your moment of life, what you are doing. For short term, as I said, certification pays off quickly because it's part of a job requirement. For long-term opportunities, degree will open more doors. So if you're thinking about, okay, I'm going to join this company, I have CH, I can apply, I'm going to go through the interview process, but I'm in parallel to that, I'm going to invest on my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity because I know that this degree is going to open different doors down the road. So what we are actually saying is you should have both. Ideally, you should have both. Which one you're going to invest first depends on the circumstances, and circumstances will vary from person to person. So that's why there is not really one size fits all type of answer. You have to analyze case by case and using those two elements as guidelines. Short-term gains, certifications might be the best investment of your time, and time is important because time is money. You need to invest on things that are important, and that opens another discussion. Is you don't need to go and start taking all the certifications available because you are investing time to study. Is this really the best investment of your time? Be critical and be strategic on which certifications you are going to invest. First of all, the certification, at the end of the day, the goal is not only to obtain the certificate itself and not the credential itself. It's about the journey. It's about using the certification to learn more. A lot of people only focus on taking the exam, but they don't really study and learn the things they are supposed to learn. So you have to focus on learning the content. Use the certification study process to get better, to do some hands-on, to learn how to do things, right? That's the intent. The certificate at the end and the exam at the end, it should be a consequence. And it should be more like a celebration of this amazing journey that it took for you to get certified. Think about that and put in this perspective. The other thing that a lot of people don't realize is how important it is nowadays to have a really good and sharp soft skills. Soft skills such as growth mindset are becoming critical for all professionals, but in particular to cybersecurity professionals, because cybersecurity professionals that do not have soft skills, they tend to make mistakes when they are doing the simple things. As a hire manager, I hire already many people, not only for my team, but also participate in the interview process of many other teams. And I can tell for a fact that many times we prefer to get someone that has great soft skills rather than someone that is really great in the technical aspect. And the reason for that is because it's easier to train someone to learn about the technical capabilities of a product of cybersecurity in general than change someone's behavior. And soft skills has a lot to do with individuals' behavior, right? So it takes way more time to shape someone's behavior to adequate with the company's culture and things like that. So it is much easier to train technically. So think about that, because sometimes if you focus only on the technical aspect, you are missing the opportunity to leverage some of the soft skills that you may have. Growth mindset is one. In the cybersecurity aspects, growth mindset basically means be ready to question your assumptions, be ready to change your view about things. You shouldn't have a fixed mindset to say, oh, this is always going to be this way because that's how I learn. In the cybersecurity field, threat actors are changing the game every single day. So you need to be flexible. Something that you validate last week may not be reality this week. Of course, you can use that previous learning experience to improve your analysis of cases and things like that, but always come to an open mind and be susceptible to change your perspective. Be open to change. The other thing that is very important is being coachable. There are so many good talents that are out there. They are natively good. They are really good. They know technical aspects and everything, but they are difficult to coach. They are difficult to follow orders. They are difficult to follow procedures. That's going to be difficult if you cannot be coachable, if you cannot accept feedback. It becomes very complicated to deal with a professional like that. So be open for feedback, and feedback is something that you should always take as gold, because when someone spends time trying to improve you, that person is spending their time to say things that will improve yourself, right? So always be thankful for feedback. This is very important. Critical thinking, very important for cybersecurity professionals to have a critical thinking, not let the heat of the moment influence your decisions because of the you are too emotional, or because there is a critical situation going on. Always analyze things from the critical thinking perspective. Effective communication is another very important skill, mainly nowadays where there's a lot of remote work going on, a lot of professionals that are working remotely, companies that are more open to work remotely, which means that most of the time you're going to be interacting with these people via email, Slack, Teams chat, Zoom webinar, whatever the method is, but it's online. So how you effectively communicate is very important. Know your target audience. If you're sending out an email where you have technical people, you have management people, and you need to come up with a common ground understanding, make sure that you communicate in such a way that you touch all those audiences. Just showing off your technical abilities may not be the right strategy for this group. So make sure that you can effectively communicate and write the message where each one of those individuals will be able to digest and understand. Okay, so that's very important. When you are in meetings, make sure that you have your camera on, because that's another thing. Multitasking is something that a lot of people are doing nowadays. How many of you are actually watching this webinar and writing an email or talking to someone, or not really focused on the webinar right now? Probably a lot. And in a meeting, this is very critical, because if I'm here explaining, for example, oh, there is an incident going on, this is what the incident response team is doing. Now let's talk with the IT folks to see what they are doing on their side. And then I call out the IT personnel that is on the meeting, and that person say, oh, excuse me, can you repeat the question, please? Well, that clearly showed that this person was not really paying attention for some reason, right? So be present at the moment, be inclusive and empathetic. It's very important to be mindful of everyone that is around you. So if you are working in a team, and cybersecurity requires a lot of collaboration across different teams, make sure that you bring that people to the conversation. What I mean by that is there is always someone that is very shy. There's always someone that is doesn't talk too much. Bring that person to share their insights. Sometimes all that person needs is the empowerment of once to go there and say, hey, what is your opinion on this? Can you please specify more clearly? What are your thoughts? So be inclusive, okay? Very important. So the other thing is know how to collaborate, which is a follow-up, right? You have to understand that in cybersecurity, and there are so many roles, as I showed before, that you have to collaborate with others. For example, let's say that you are responsible for the security posture of all your cloud workloads. And now you are analyzing the report of vulnerabilities in a database. You found a lot of vulnerabilities on this database, but you, as part of the cloud security posture management team, you don't have administrative privilege to remediate those vulnerabilities. So what you're going to have to do at that point is have to talk with the database administrator and say, hey, look, I found all these vulnerabilities on your database. Can you please go ahead and remediate? And you have until the end of this month to take care of this. You have to be able to collaborate with everyone. Cybersecurity, information security as a whole needs to be seen as an enabler for the business rather than a blocker. And that's why a lot of information security policies and procedures and guidelines, sometimes they fail because there's lack of collaboration. Everyone see security as a blocker rather than an enabler. So make sure to always focus on that. All right, know how to delegate, which is another problem that many professionals they have. They want to hold everything to them and say, "Hey, this is my project. I lead this. Was always this way." Well, now you are going to do something else. You need to delegate what you've done in the past to someone else and monitor and lead that person. So there will be a point in your career that is not about you doing it, it's about how you enable others to do it and to grow. That's how you start building that senior level capability. It's not only about your execution, but how you enable the team to execute better. So delegation becomes critical for a cybersecurity professional. All right, so now that you have these insights about um, the soft skills, let's think about the interview. You found the job. Now you're going to do one homework that is very important. Research as much as you can about that company that you are interviewing for. You already received the schedule. You already know that the meeting with them is going to be Monday next week. All right, let me research, right? Because you need to understand what that company does. The worst thing that can happen is on the first interview, the interviewer asks you, why do you want to join our company? What do you believe is our vision, and what we do that attracts you to join our company? And you're like, I don't know, right? Because you never ever read about the company values, the mission, and anything. You don't know. So that's really not a good idea. So research about the company, know what they do, know what their values are, and things like that. Go back to the position and start review the job post again. Mainly the job responsibilities, the technical requirements, because this question may come up on the interview. They may ask you, okay, do you know what you're going to do in this role? Can you give a brief overview of what you believe you're going to do in this role? And if you haven't read the job responsibilities, you really don't know, right? As well as the technical requirements. All right, so you pass through that initial phase, the interview is scheduled. The interview will have usually multiple rounds. You need to be prepared to face multiple interviewers, and each interviewer, each round actually may cover one or more set of competencies. What I mean by that is companies across the globe, they have some areas that they want to focus during the interview process. So they may look for adaptability. How can you adapt to situations? So they may come up with scenarios that will test your adaptability. Let's say, oh, you started this cloud security management posture project, and the deployment was supposed to be in 3 months, but now you receive a message from your manager that you need to finish in 2. How do you adapt your action plan to others this request? So how can you quickly adapt to change? Adaptability is one example. Collaboration, I mentioned before how important collaboration is. So when you're going through the interview, they may have scenarios, questions that will lead you to have to collaborate. And me as an interviewer, I need to be super aware of what you're talking to see if there's any red flag. Because, for example, if you don't collaborate, and if your answer leads me to believe that you are not collaborating, that might be a red flag. Customer focus. If you are applying for a position that require customer interaction, I want to understand your experience with customer engagements. And even if you never had an experience in the cybersecurity, most likely you did have experience with dealing with customer. And use the examples that you have. Always be very sincere about your experience. Don't come up with examples that you don't have, right? Technical excellence is another point, because of course there will be they'll be checking all the soft skills and competencies, but they will also check your technical abilities. Now, here there are 4 competencies. It doesn't mean there will be 4 rounds. It means that there are 4 competencies to be covered, and this might be covered in 2 rounds. Each round cover 2. It doesn't matter, right? Because the point is there are some competencies that can blend with each other. For example, I can talk about a collaboration scenario where I focus also on technical excellence, right? Because I can come up with a technical scenario that will lead you to collaborate. So it may merge across all these competencies, okay? Here are some 2 examples of questions. The book has more examples, but here are 2. For example, the scenario base. You need to implement a solution that detects potential attempts to RDP brute force any VM and automatically create rules in firewall blocking the source IP of the attack. What solution would you use? That is a very long scenario. I'm asking you, you're gonna have to come back with an answer for this scenario. What would you do to address this scenario? All right. Now, there are different type of scenario-based questions, because in this one, even if you have not lived that situation in real life, when you were studying, when you were implementing things on your lab, you may have come up with this, or you may have read about this, so you may know the theory about this and how to do it in theory, and that's good enough. But there are scenario questions that me as an interviewer, I will ask you, I will look at you and say, can you please give an example of a time in your career where you had an RDP brute force attack going on in your environment, and what did you do to mitigate? Now, that's a different story, because now I'm asking you for a real world example that you lived. My recommendation here is don't lie. If you never lived that situation, just say, well, thanks for that question, but I never had a situation like that. I can tell in theory what I would do, but I want to be honest that I never really had this situation in real life. So I can answer what I would do in theory, or you can give me another scenario. Perfect, perfect, because the interviewer is like, okay, this person is has integrity, is not trying to come up with a fictitious scenario that it was never lived. So it's very good. So don't lie about the scenario. And if you do, be careful, because the interviewer usually knows when you are lying about scenarios, because they will always ask a follow-up question, and that when we understand that the scenario never really existed, right? And there are other questions that are very direct questions, such as, so what are the principles of zero trust? So it's either you know or you don't know. It's a very direct question. There is no way to say, well, I believe, or no, you either know or don't know. Okay, and if you don't know, it's always better to say, I don't know. Okay, so being through the interview, let's say that you got the job, everything is going good. You now need to think about what's next, because it's not only about getting the job, it's about being happy with the job and continue to grow in that job. So in cyber, it's very important to use the continuous improvement mindset, always assuming that you really don't know too much and you are always learning. You should always be in learning mode, because in cyber, you're going to learn new things every single day. So you have to push yourself to grow. You have to push yourself to learn every single day, and understand that if you are the smarter person in the room, you probably are in the wrong place, because now you need to go to a place where you are not the smarter one. You still learn with that people in the room, right? You always have to be pushing yourself to be among the best ones and understand how you can grow. The other thing that is very important to realize is what got you here won't get you there. What I mean by this is a lot of people, they establish a plan, go for this plan, execute and achieve. Great. The problem is now when they try to repeat, they don't achieve the same results. Well, because it's what you've done in the past became your baseline. The impact that you have in the past doing that action plan is not going to repeat if you execute exactly the same thing, because now people expect more from you. It's about always going to the next level. And if you keep executing the same thing, you are basically staying on the same level. So even when you think about promotions, what you've done on the previous year that got you promoted, erase, and we're gonna have start over and use that as a baseline, but now doing more, right? Doing other things, unique things, being creative and pushing yourself. So keep that in mind. Always ask yourself these questions when you are reflecting about career. Are you still happy doing what you do? Are you still making progress in your career? Can you still find ways to stretch yourself and do more? If all answers for all three questions are yes, you are in a great place, you can continue to move, you can continue to do your thing. If the answer for the first question is no, that's a red flag, because even if you are making progress and even if you can find ways to stretch yourself, you're not happy. And if you're not happy, everything else is going to start going down the hill. It's just a matter of time. So your happiness is imperative. You gotta be happy doing what you do, because you spend most of your time at work. Even if you are working at home, you spend most of your time focused in work-related tasks. So you need to be happy about those things. You need to feel good about those things. Now, if the first one is yes, the second one is no, and the third one is yes, you can still manage, because the no on the second bullet may be temporary, right? Because in a corporate environment, there are many reorganizations, there are many changes in the dynamics of the team and how the team works. So maybe you are in a transition phase where you're still happy, but you are not making a lot of progress because the current dynamics of the team and the agenda for the organization doesn't allow you to make too much progress. But you know that this is just a matter of time. It's just because right now things are not going well. So you are still happy, and you want to continue to invest because you see there is a potential growth down the road. So don't get in desperation mode if you are not making progress immediately. Envision what is ahead. Understand turmoils, obstacles, they will happen. And don't take your entire journey for granted just because you are having a bad day or a bad week or even a bad month. Analyze always the possibilities and understand that there are those transition moments that will be, difficult to deal with, but they are temporary. It will pass. It will pass, right? So think about that before making any decisions. Now, when we are talking about degrees, I want to call out some of the EC Council University degree certificate programs. I personally teach at the Bachelor in Science of Bachelor of Science in Cybersecurity, which we talk about computer security management, incident response, security threat assessments. So this is going to prepare to have a bachelor degree in cybersecurity. It's very good. I've been teaching at UC Council University since 2015. Actually, this is my 8th year as a professor. There is also the Master of Science in Cybersecurity, which puts you in the next level. So if you've done the master already, you have the opportunity to do, if you've done the bachelor, you have the opportunity to do a master and elevate your knowledge. There is a Master of Science in Computer Science and the graduate certificate programs as well, and the non-degree courses as well. So these are some of the programs that are available for qualification. As I said in the beginning of the presentation, always use certifications, degrees as a way of learning, as a roadmap for learning. Don't focus only on getting the certificate. You have to enjoy the journey to get there, and you have to change, and you will change throughout the program because you're going to start learning more. So be fully engaged, learn, and then at the end celebrate with the certificate. That's the intent, which will open different doors for you. One of the advantages of EC Council University is the accreditation recognition across the globe. Not only is the sponsored by the EC Council, the world's largest cybersecurity training certification organization, and creator of the amazing CEH certification, but has also many accreditations. And I personally have students across the globe that changed their lives after their degree. It has been an amazing journey throughout the 8 years that I've been teaching at EC Council University to see how many people changed their lives after they got their degree. So I'm very proud of this. Actually, the fall October 2023 term is starting, so you can apply and starts now. Here is the information about the book. Again, this book was written with the intent to really help you throughout this journey of getting in the cybersecurity field. This is the QR code that you can scan to obtain the book, or use this short URL to access the website to get the book. It's also available at Amazon. If you have Amazon subscription, you can also get from there. Again, the book has all these steps in much more details. And even for people that are thinking about, oh, down the road, I want to build my own company in cybersecurity, there are two great guest writers that join the book from the field to write their testimony on how they build their own company. Okay. All right. So with that, I'm going to open for Q&A.
Thank you so much, Yuri, for an informative session, and our attendees share the same sentiments. If you're interested to learn more about our program, do let us know in the poll that's going to be conducted now. Let us know your preferred mode of training, and we will reach out to you soon. So, Yuri, shall we start with the Q&A?
Sure.
Okay. Our first question is, can you provide a list of cybersecurity jobs and required skills to get those jobs by Jishan Ahmed?
Well, I cannot provide it here right now during this presentation, but I listed a lot of those things in the book itself. There is a website that is also referenced in the book that allows you to have this visibility about the different job requirements, because again, there is a lot of jobs, right? A lot of jobs, and it's important to understand that even if I provide in the examples that I give in the book, is not set on stone. What I mean by that is it varies according to the size of the organization. Because if you get a large organization, Fortune 500 company, they are very well segmented. So they may have a database vulnerability management team. They just focus on database. And then they have a operating system vulnerability management team. So they are very segmented. So in large organizations, there are way more segmentations when it comes to the roles. So a cybersecurity analyst in a large organization may mean something, and in a medium and small may be something completely different. So be careful to not also think, oh, these are the things that they always do. That's why when I started the presentation, I said, go and search for jobs. The best way for you to learn about job requirements is go to LinkedIn and search for jobs and start reading job description. It's free. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion, because what a cybersecurity architect does in a Fortune 500 organization may not be, and usually is not the same thing that a cybersecurity architect does in a small, medium company. So you got to be a little careful about that.
Thank you so much, Yuri, for answering that question. Our next question is, how can we know that at which level, 100, 200, 300, or 400, we stand in regards to skills required for cybersecurity jobs? Do cybersecurity certifications help to figure out?
Well, first of all, the self-assessment is the way that I recommend you to do it because only you know the level, right? For example, if you read a job description that says one of the job requirements is to analyze network packages to understand if the network communication, okay? Let's say that this is one of the requirements. And then you look to yourself and say, look, I know network, I know TCP/IP, I understand TCP/IP, I understand Windows network, I understand Linux network, but I never actually open a package to analyze uh, what's going on inside the wire. So I don't know Wireshark, I don't know the tools. So now you can assess. You can say, okay, I know the theory, I know about TCP/IP, I know about network, but I don't know about the tools. I don't know how to read it. So I'm gonna rate myself as 100 because I have the basic knowledge, right? So that's how you should proceed. If you understand what is required at the job and you understand well, and you can prove that you can understand well, then you are like 200 or 300. If you have actually experience doing it hands-on, then you are 300. But if you have just the theory, but you have actually can explain, then you are 200. So that's usually how someone will do the self-assessment. Does the certification helps? Well, of course it does help for you to ramp up on that thing. For example, let's use again the network trace analysis. The job is for incident responder, and one of the requirements is to read network package and analyze traffic and understand if there is suspicious activity going on, things like that. If you don't have that knowledge and you go ahead and start to study for CEH, you're gonna see network sniffing as part of the body of study for CEH. You may implement some labs as you study for the exam to see how network traces work. So after you finish study for the exam, you gain that knowledge. So now you can consider yourself to 200 because not why not 300? Well, because you never did in a real environment. You did only in labs. You don't have proficiency yet, right? So to be very sincere, I'll rate myself as 200. So that's how you can go about rating yourself.
Thank you, Yuri, for answering that question. Our next question is, for a cybersecurity analyst, what are the major certifications needed for the job? By Emmanuel.
Uh, I know that y'all gonna hate my answer, but it depends. And there, again, the cybersecurity analyst may mean something for a Fortune 500, may mean something different for a small company, right? I've seen cybersecurity analysts that requires CH. I've seen cybersecurity analysts that requires CISSP. So it depends because it depends on what the company is expecting you to know and to have. So there is not really a perfect answer. Now, if you go to the certification roadmap, some certifications they are very clear. They were created for cybersecurity analysts, right? For example, there are certifications across the market that are focused on cybersecurity analysts. Okay, there are certifications that are focused on pen testers. There are certifications that are focused on networks defender, like the certified network defender from EC Console. They are focused really on network security. So you can use those certifications as baseline, but always be open because the job requirements and the size of the company dictates what they feel and what they require as far as certification. Okay, so use the roadmap provided by the industry certification body that you're going to use. If you're going to use EC Council, go through the normal certification roadmap, but always be flexible because the job dictates what they want.
Thank you, Yuri, for answering that question. Our next question is it possible to have more than one cybersecurity job while working remotely? By Joel Hagen.
That's very tricky and actually can be dangerous and can be not acceptable by the company, right? Because some companies, they don't allow you to have multiple jobs, mainly if you are working the same business hours. I've seen uh, people doing that and get fired as soon as the company found out that they are in two different jobs at the same time. That's not allowed. You have to look at the company's security policy to see if this is allowed. Is it possible to do in a different times in a different time? For example, oh, for my company A, I work from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And for company B, I work from 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a different time. You can manage. Now, keep in mind your work-life balance because that's another problem that we have in the industry. Cybersecurity professionals, they are getting burnout because there is a lot of work to do. And if you are handling two jobs, you're going to be very stressed with time. If you can manage that stress without affecting your well-being or affecting your family, then go for it. But I would say just be careful to not burn out. That's it.
Thank you so much, Yuri, for answering that question. Our next question is, what kind of cybersecurity entry jobs are available for lawyers who do not want to particularly work in technical areas, by Rodria?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think lawyers they actually have the capability to join mainly around compliance, security compliance, because they may have already some knowledge around regulatory compliance standards, so they can leverage their knowledge on those regulatory compliance and merge a little bit into the cyber world to start building their career related to cyber. So security compliance officer, security compliance analyst, these are some examples. Of course, if you don't work with compliance as a lawyer, then you're going to have to ramp up on that area. But that's what I've seen more often.
Thank you, Yuri. We'll take last two questions for the day. Our next question is, can you work in cyber without coding skills, by Joanna?
Yes, 100%. You don't need coding skills to work in cyber. And that's why in the beginning of the presentation, I said that if you join a job that requires code and you don't have coding skills, you're going to be frustrated, right? So that's why you have to pick the job. There are many opportunities to work in cyber, even if you don't know coding. So that's not a problem. It really depends of the job role and job responsibilities. I would say that majority of the jobs in cybersecurity does not require uh, coding skills.
Thank you, Yuri. Last question. I'm a PI IT analyst. What path should I take to transfer within the organization to a senior cybersecurity analyst? I already have a university degree in information security, by Rodrigo.
So can you repeat the question? I didn't understand the main point of the question.
Uh, he's like, I'm a PI IT analyst. What path should I take to transfer within the organization to a senior cybersecurity analyst?
Okay,
I already have a university degree in information security.
got it. Yeah. So this is something that I cover in the book about networking, right? And networking inside of the organization. So one of the things that I've seen a lot is people that are investing in cybersecurity outside of the work, and then now they want to change jobs, but within the same company. First thing that you need to do is build a relationship with the security team. And when you build this relationship with the security team, understand the opportunities where you can contribute. So this means that you're probably going to have to do some volunteer work, showing that you are able to do it. And as you start to build in this relationship and as you start to participate in some projects, then it will make it easier for you to decide which area within your company fits better your skills and what you are willing to do, right? So start with exposing yourself, networking with the security team within your organization, try to participate and volunteer in some projects, because the reality is cybersecurity professionals are all busy. They need help. So offering your help and see how you can help and fit in a V team. Don't look for credit. Don't look for any type of kudos at that point. This is a personal investment. You are basically showing up there to show your value and show how you can contribute. Building this relationship is very important. So that's the path that I would recommend.
Thank you, Yuri. Thank you again to our wonderful speaker, Yuri, for answering those questions and for the great presentation and knowledge shared with our global audiences. It was a great pleasure to have you with us, and we are looking for more and more sessions with you. Now, before we conclude with the webinar, Yuri, would you like to give a small message to our audiences, please?
Well, I just want to wish everyone a good luck on this journey to the cybersecurity field. It's a very exciting field for sure. And I hope that the tips that were shared throughout this presentation will help you to reflect and to take a next step.
Thank you so much, Yuri, for the message to our audiences. Before we end the session, I would like to announce our next Cyber Talk session, integrating security into the CI/CD pipeline, which is scheduled for September 7th, 2023. This is an expert presentation by Adora Nawada, founder at Nexus Care. To register for this session, please do go and visit our website www.eccu.edu/cybertalk/. The link is given in the chat section. Hope to see you all on 7th September. With this, we end the session. You may now disconnect your line. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yuri. Pleasure
Thank
having
you.
you.